Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I am the founder of Global Chamber. I don't think we've ever used the word acing in a title of any of our Globinars, and so it's refreshing. I wasn't even sure how to spell it. That's how unique it is to us. And the good news about that word and about our presentation today is we've got some unique information for our members to take your business to the next level. And so really appreciate the fact that David Brickley, who's the owner of and CEO of STN Digital, is here. He's an expert in this area on social media, on getting brand awareness, on getting aware, not just awareness, but branding to your business. And so, David, I really appreciate you taking the time. For those of you who are either, if you're here watching us, feel free to hold your questions. But if you do have a question, raise your hand so we can have an orderly process. And then at the end, David has agreed to answer your questions. And if you're hearing the recording, if you need to get a hold of David, please get a hold of him either directly. And if you have any challenge with that, send an information info@globalchamber.org or to me directly, Doug@globalchamber.org, and we'll definitely get you connected. David, I turn the floor over to you. What would you like to accomplish today? What would be a good outcome?
Yeah, honestly, really just provide as much value as I can. I think I really believe in the spirit of community. And listen, if I can help you guys, really all the learnings I've had over doing this for over 15 years when it comes to social first marketing and creating awareness and interest and desire about our brands, our products. Yeah, my goal is just to give you all that knowledge. So hopefully it's helpful and you guys walk away with tangible next steps that you can apply to your businesses and brand as early as today. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
For Global Chamber, the question we always ask is who do you want to meet, which is really kind of a proxy for who are your best clients. So who if you met right now, you would say, wow, that's right in our wheelhouse. We can really help them. How would you describe that person or company, or where are they? What issues do they have? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so for our company, we're widely considered the #1 social first marketing agency in all of sports and entertainment. So we've really been blessed to work on the biggest events in the world, the Olympics, March Madness, Super Bowls, working at the league team level in all professional sports, but also working with entertainment brands and streamers and award shows like the Grammys. So we've really been trusted by these massive mammoth brands. And as someone that grew up, obviously, watching NFL and watching the NBA as a sports fan, and also just seeing all these different amazing logos that I interact with every day, to have the opportunity to help them with their biggest initiatives on a daily basis has really been a dream come true. So to answer your question, we've done it all really, and we've met a lot of our heroes, if you will. And I think anybody that for us in the sports entertainment space, maybe Mark Cuban's a good guy that would be great to grab a coffee with since he's pretty well connected, but it's been pretty awesome thus far.
Okay. You've not met Mark Cuban
I've
yet?
not met. So if anybody has an intro, I love an intro.
Okay. That's fascinating. And actually I do have a really good connection for you that I think gonna work out. So thank you for being clear. You're based in Southern California, so I imagine your expertise is some of it has been built off of the fact that your proximity basis, but you've got some really great experience.
Yeah, so our headquarters in San Diego, as you guys can imagine, we are social first. So luckily, if you have a laptop or an iPhone, you really can be anywhere. So we have over 80 full-time employees really spread out all across the nation, from Indiana to Texas to Florida to New York. And I would say about 40%, 30% of our staff is in the LA, San Diego area here in SoCal for sure.
Okay. You mentioned the Olympics. We actually have a podcast and a program happening at the Olympics this year.
Awesome.
Do you have anything going on there, or what's your connectivity this year?
Yeah, so we've worked with NBC Sports the last decade, so we're really involved with them when it comes to the Olympics, just creating extra content. If Simone Biles is really having an amazing run, how do we capitalize on those moments and make sure they're showing up socially across their different Olympic, NBC Sports, NBC Universal handles. Peacock as well will be really strong with the Olympics this year, with a lot of new ways to watch the Olympics, both in prime time, but also live in Paris. So super exciting.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for the ideas. I turn the
Sure.
floor over to you. Thank you for sharing today.
Awesome. So yeah, I'll share my screen to walk you guys through a deck here that I think will allow us to follow along pretty easily. And yeah, if you have any questions or any thoughts or just anything you agree with, feel free to put it in the chat room. I like this to be extremely non-monologue. Like I like to have dialogue. So I'd love for you guys to drop any notes in the chat room. So yeah, this title of this webinar, Globinar, is acing your social media strategies to boost brand awareness and engagement. And what I really want to do is focus on small business, focus on, regardless of industry, what are some takeaways and some knowledge that I can give you all so you can take back to your home bases and just think of how you can attack this. So excited. And like Doug said, I'm David, D-A-V-I-D, at stn.digital. So if you want to talk offline, or you want to dig deeper into any of this stuff, definitely happy to chat after this presentation. So to dig in, I just wanted to really get macro for a second. What is the ROI of marketing? I think we often battle with the CFOs and the finance departments of a lot of the brands that we work with. And I think sometimes as CEOs, as finance people within our organization, a lot of folks want immediate ROI. They want to focus on lower funnel tactics. So what really is the ROI of marketing to our customer base? And what I love to say is one of my favorite quotes I saw from an author from Adweek. Try this at home. And anybody that has wife or a husband or a significant other, I think I love this analogy. Try this at home. Stop saying hi, thanks, and I love you, and see how things go in your relationship. Then ask yourself if the ROI of attention, courtesy, and affection were an unnecessary expense or an essential part of your daily life. We're creating really an intimate connection with our customer base, with our audience, with the demographic that we want to provide value for. And I think oftentimes we forget that. We sometimes look at our customer base as dollar signs, or we look at them as a transactional relationship. But in reality, much like any intimate relationship personally or romantically, that same thing goes for your customer base. So what I want to do is really break this down simply. 8 free ways to 10x any brand. Anybody on this call that works across any industry, I really feel like these 8 things I'm about to walk you through can allow it to resonate with you, and you guys can leverage it with your different businesses. So again, I love to do this chronologically. I like to get macro for a second, and then we can drill down into more granular detail. But there's 5 stages the human brain moves through when they buy something. The shirt you're wearing right now, the shoes you're wearing, the car that you purchased, you move through these 5 stages as you came to a decision that you're going to move forward. So the first stage is credibility. The human brain's trying to figure out, is this credible, right? When you're trying to buy that car, you're going to pay $30 to buy a new t-shirt. Is this brand credible? Can I trust this brand? And what that looks like is, for your businesses, what your audience and customer demographic is trying to figure out is, are you credible? Is your company credible? Is the service or product credible? And if they assess you as credible, they will then move to the next step. They will then have that trust to say, okay, I'm willing to hear more about your business. The second stage is, how does this apply to me? You can be credible. I think that Marquis Jets is a credible brand. I'm not in the business to buy a private jet right now, so I know they're credible, but I know it doesn't apply to me at this certain stage of my life. So when it is credible, you really want to figure out, how does this apply to me? How does your business help me as a customer reach my goals? How does your business address the current challenges I'm going through? And what makes you different than your competitors that may charge cheaper or may have a different value prop? How are you different than the competitive landscape? So the first 2 stages are clearly marketing. The way we use social media marketing, the way that we use marketing, we're trying to tell our audience, we promise we're credible, and we guarantee you that our service applies to you as our potential customer. Then we really get into the sales aspect of this journey. Is this worth it? What results will I get? So the human brain's trying to figure out, if I go forward with you, is it going to be worth it? And what am I going to get at the end of it? And then the fourth thing is this something I'm actually going to do? And the fifth is, they're actually going to purchase the product. So the 5 stages of this process that any human goes through before they actually sign the contract or they actually give you their credit card, we all have to remember that they're working through these 5 stages. So what I'm going to walk you through today is particular in stage 1 and 2, which some would argue is the most important stage. How with your marketing, how with your social media presence, can you really nail these first 2 stages so more people are taking action through your marketing funnel? The first way we do this is set your ideal customer profile. You would be amazed. We work with Fortune 500 brands all the time, and they sometimes don't really sit down and understand who exactly do we want to buy our product? Who exactly is our customer? And ICP stands for ideal customer profile. Again, for my company, we are a social first agency, but we work primarily in sports and entertainment. So the local donut shop down the street is not my ideal customer profile. So my marketing and my social media messaging is not going to pull on the heartstrings of the donut shop owner. It's going to pull on the heartstrings of the CMO at maybe a Fortune 500 brand in the sports or entertainment space. So we really have to ask ourselves as business owners, who do we want to get in front of at the top of that funnel? This is where a lot of businesses make a lot of mistakes, where you don't sit down with your team and really think about, what does our customer look like? Who are our favorite customers? Who do we even want to go after? Because oftentimes if you start your marketing and you're trying to be everything to everybody, it's not going to work. You can build a lot of awareness, but you're not going to be able to really have them take action. So the questions you should be asking yourself is, who is your ideal customer? What are your favorite types of clients? What sector or service of your company makes you the most profit, so you can go out and touch those people and recruit those people into your funnel? A lot of times, I think, again, I see this even at the Fortune 500 level, they don't do this exercise where, who is your customer profile? Who is your buyer persona? So again, I know a lot of the people that sign my contracts are CMOs at large brands in the sports and entertainment space. So I really can start to build the company size, how much revenue they bring in, and what that buyer persona looks like, acts like, what their titles are. So then we can really reverse engineer what these people care about, where they find value, and where they tend to be. Are they more on LinkedIn? Are they more on Instagram? Are they more email newsletter? Is it all the above? That's really why it's important to start at the top, so then you can really figure out how to reach these people in the right way. The third is really a deep understanding of that audience. So you figure it out, right? You're the construction company, you are the finance, fractional CFO company. You know that you want to reach out to CEOs in the small business market that make between 5 and 10 million of annual revenue. Now we really need to get deeper inside that persona to figure out how I could talk to them in an authentic way. So I use LeBron James as an example here because I'm a big Laker fan, but who is our target audience? If we're trying to go after LeBron James, we need to figure out, where does LeBron hang out? This is more of a macro stat, but 90% of Americans aged over 15 are using email. Probably not a surprising stat, but I tell you this because every single business should have a newsletter, should use email to talk to their customer base, because guess what? Everybody has an email. When you look even more granularly to the different social media platforms out there, 81% of US adults say they use YouTube. Almost 70% use Facebook. So for you as a small business to not leverage these free platforms, they are free billboards on the side of Sunset Boulevard that you're not leveraging enough, it's really a disservice to your company and the potential of your sales and your business. So when we really look at macro, I'm not going to really get micro into each individual business on this call or watching today. But guys, we know people are on YouTube. We know they're in email. We know they're on Facebook. So it's so imperative to have strategies and to leverage these free platforms to the benefit of your business. Going a little bit deeper, did you know that 90% of US adults that make over $75,000 are on YouTube? So should you have content on YouTube? I would venture to say, yes, you should, right? Because I'm sure all of us small business owners are targeting people that at least make over $75,000 in this target demo. So once you start to look at these macro stats, you really can start to say, okay, I'm going to put maybe more money or more resources in these key areas where I know my customers spend a ton of time, whether it's passively or more on a strategic basis. What makes them engage? What does my target audience really like? What is engaging? What is interesting for them? What other brands and creators do they trust out there? That's really important to see if I'm going after LeBron James and I know that he trusts Drake and he loves Drake's music, then maybe we're going to focus on content that's educational around his musical taste. and then really find your niche. Again, I think a lot of times we think every single person out there is a potential customer. And in reality, when you sit down and whiteboard it out, you're like, oh, okay, actually, there's a really key bucket that I need to be focusing on to get all my goals reached. And then again, we can't be everything to everyone. So Global Chamber, they have a very strategic way that they want to reach out to small business owners. They want to really create a community of CEOs and decision makers that are within their community, but that they're not going to go after students potentially. They're not going to go after maybe teenagers. 67% of Gen Z is on TikTok. That may not be a platform Global Chamber really focuses on heavily because they know their target market is more on the LinkedIn's, etc. So, and really the one thing I say, if you could take away anything, I would take a picture of this slide or write this down. When you think of your guys' social media strategies or your marketing strategies on digital, how do you educate, how do you entertain, and or how do you provide value to your target demo on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? If you focus on your content knowing that this is going to educate my decision maker, this is going to entertain my decision maker, and ultimately this is going to provide value to my decision maker, you're really going to be able to build that credibility and trust at the top of that funnel. And I love this quote from Rory Sutherland. He's the vice chairman of Ogilvy in UK. 97% of your potential customer base are not in the market to buy at the given time that you want them to, but spending money on that 97% on a consistent daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly basis is a very effective thing to do, because when they are in the market to buy, they're going to remember you, and already the trust and credibility is already built there. So they're going to move much faster through your funnel. Almost halfway home here, so I appreciate all the attention so far, and hopefully it's providing value. But speaking of value, the number 4 thing on our list is create value for your community. What I can tell you is, I'm in this community with small businesses. I have a lot of entrepreneur friends. I'm in different peer-to-peer groups like Vistage and EO. 99% of companies, marketing isn't creating value. It's very self-serving. It's look at us. It's a call to action. It's you should check out here, or you should buy this. That's not value, and that's not marketing. That's not building credibility at the top of the funnel. That's more of a sales tactic. So remember, 96% of people do not believe that ads are truthful. So if your content looks like an ad, if your content is talking about how amazing you are, they don't even trust you. They think that you're pulling the wool over their eyes. So that's a subconscious decision that our decision makers are making when they look at content that is way too self-serving or way too ad-like. So again, in the first 2 stages of our marketing funnel, the first 2 stages that the brain moves through, you really got to make sure that your social media content, your email marketing, your website digital content, you're solving these 2 goals. Will this content give us credibility? Will this content show how what we do applies to our decision makers? That's really your goal when you think of the content. And I think oftentimes as business owners, we get afraid, like, I don't want to give away all the secrets. What if my competitors steal my IP and use that against me? Listen, I love this quote from Alex Ramosi. He's a great business owner that sold multiple companies for up to 50 million in exits. But he says, and I totally agree with this statement, give away the secrets and sell the implementation. We're so scared that people are going to steal our recipe. Here's the thing. Even if you give everybody all the rules of the game and the entire recipe, less than 1% are actually going to act on it. So if you're afraid you're giving too much, give more and make your free materials better than your competitors' paid materials. If you can focus on providing value, free materials, free advice, free recipes, guess what? You're going to stand out against your competitors, because your competitors are so afraid they're doing that you're the one that people say, man, I mean, this guy or gal or this business is giving me so much free material, so much free value. I almost feel inclined that I need to be giving them some type of money in return. And that's really the end of the day how it works. And I also love this quote from Jeff Finster. He's the CEO of Everbowl. He once ran an agency with Neil Patel, and they like to say, 8 for them, 2 for us. If you produce 8 valuable pieces of content that's educational and your core demo is going to enjoy it, you've then earned the right to talk about yourself 2 times. If we look at all of our social media feeds, or we look at our email newsletter, or we look at our website, can you actually say that 80% of your content is completely you giving free value to your community, and only 20% of it is talking about yourself? I would venture to say that it's probably flipped if we're being honest with ourselves. And then also, it may even be higher. Maybe all of our content is 95% of it is us talking about how amazing we are. So keep that in mind when you think about that top of the funnel marketing. And I'll give you a quick example. So for STN Digital, my company, who we're trying to reach is directors of social, the marketing managers, the CMOs of sports and entertainment brands. So how does a company like me build awareness or interest with our target decision makers? So we're creating content all the time. 6 things you need to know about, Instagram threads. Deion Sanders last year was a big storyline in college football. All the storylines you need to know about that. 7 reasons you need to double down on influencer marketing. We're creating constant content that's valuable to our audience, that they get education, they get value out of, because we know if we can show up in a credible, valuable nature, they'll think of us first, hopefully, when they actually need to execute. So again, what do we want to convert? If we get people through the end of this funnel, we at STN want to convert customer retention, new business, new logos entering our funnel, and of course, recruiting top talent. This content, what's amazing about this, if you guys focus on amazing, valuable content in your sector, more people actually want to work for your company. They get excited when they see your Instagram profile. They get excited when they go to your website because they really understand what you're all about and the value that you bring to your industry. So a quick STN case study. This is not just stuff that I'm, talking about just because I think it's what works. I know it's worked because it's worked for us as well. So I talk about all the content that we create here at STN. That awareness phase, we want to make sure that our core demo is engaging with our content. So here's a great example where my social media manager on my personal social media as a thought leader said, hey, I really think this Deion Sanders story is picking up a lot of steam. And I think a lot of our decision makers would find value out of this. So I recorded a video, the 5 things that you must know about Deion Sanders going 3-0 at Colorado during the big college football season. And I created a video here that I'll include in the presentation after this, but I created this 9x16 vertical video on Instagram. Let me see if I can. So here's the results. I create this video. It gets about 65,000 views and it ended up getting about 300,000 views and went somewhat viral. Deion Sanders liked that video. He followed me on Instagram and he DM'd me, thank you for your kindness and honesty. God bless you, brother. That all was because I was creating valuable content for my core demo. What's that mean for my company? Well, the head coach at Colorado, arguably the most famous coach in all of college football, now knows that I exist, now knows that STN Digital exists. He is now a follower of all my future content and subscribes to our content at STN and me personally as a thought leader. So we can start working him down this funnel or ask him for intros to people that make those decisions in the marketing standpoint. So this is how powerful this stuff could be. You think that, I'm just creating a free piece of content, but it's amazing. Again, think of social media as those free billboards on the side of the freeway that you're able to access and really able to leverage for your company. So we're halfway home. Feel free to, any questions you guys have in the chats or any thoughts you guys have on these first 4. But again, number 1, let's understand the brain science of what the customer goes through when they make a decision to purchase our product. Number 2, you got to set that ideal customer profile so you even know who the heck are we going after and what do they really care about. That's all about that deep understanding for step 3. And then ultimately you start creating content, reverse engineer your audience and what they find valuable, and then create content for that. All right, so number 5, power of aggregation. A lot of times people, I think, overthink their content. And ultimately, when you think of mediums in history, think of America's Funniest Home Videos. Think of SportsCenter. What are these different media companies doing? They're aggregating all the funniest videos or all the sports highlights in a very nice packaged 30-minute program so you could sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And in social media, when you're thinking about your target market, outside of the content you guys create from scratch, what are some things that's happening within your industry that they would enjoy or find value over? So look at these sports brands, ESPN, Barstool, Bleacher Report, Complex. They post about 30, 40 times a week at some points, or I'm sorry, 30 to 40 times a day. But the way they do that is they curate or they aggregate content across the internet. And look at this, 49% from ESPN, 80% from Barstool. They're really saying, hey, if you follow our feeds, we're a one-stop shop. We're going to make sure you don't get any FOMO, the fear of missing out. And we're going to tell you all the top stories, all the funny videos, anything that relates to a sports fan would enjoy, they focus on. And I think we can take this back to our companies is what are some things that your business that's happening with other feeds, other creators, other brands that your core demo would enjoy. And for me, again, if I'm talking to CMOs at major brands, if TikTok might get banned, it's really important to maybe share that article or share what the latest is on that. So they're that way some of their fear goes away, or they're able to be educated by me, STN, and really put that credibility. Depth versus width. I love this quote. We need to stay focused on our marketing priorities and not get distracted by every shiny, oh my God, look, a squirrel. I think oftentimes we have all the best intention in the world to release a marketing newsletter every week, or to really start posting on LinkedIn once a week or twice a week. But we get distracted, right? We start it for a few weeks. It doesn't really get us sales, and we stop and we try something new. What I really say is a lot of companies do this the wrong way. And this happens at the Fortune 500 level too, where you're kind of going 34% across email, your website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc. And you're not really best in class on any of them. And it's kind of, a C plus effort across all these different distribution outlets. What I'd much rather have you do is have the best newsletter in your entire industry, have the best blogs for anybody in your industry. And maybe that means you don't have enough resources to really leverage a YouTube or Facebook just yet, but I'd much rather you go super, super deep with your audience on one or two platforms than have the fear of missing out, where you think you have to be everywhere, and then it's just a diluted product that nobody really finds valuable. So give yourself some grace. If you don't think you have a great marketing strategy, start with one of these buckets first and foremost. Have the best newsletter in the game. Once you really ace that, going back to the title of this Globinar, then maybe you can move on to the next one, or maybe it makes more sense to hire more people or add more resources as you go down the different distribution platforms. Number 7, find your comfort zone. So not everybody wants to do the selfie video that I showed, the 5 things you need to know about the Deion Sanders amazing college football run. This type of webinar, I do a lot of these, but maybe you're more of a written marketer where you can create that amazing newsletter. Maybe you want to do more of a white paper. Maybe you like being on video, so you want to create more short form video, but find what you really like to do and don't try to be anything you're not. But just know, if you're a CEO out there, you are a thought leader, whether you like it or not. And it's really important to extract your knowledge to provide value to your community. I have a podcast. Some people like this idea. Some people, maybe it gives them anxiety, but this is a great way where I'm able to talk to a ton of decision makers in my space, but also provide value to any decision maker in my space as well, because we're talking to experts and we're really diving deep into best practices and strategy and what's working across the landscape. And that provides a ton of value. By the way, if this stuff drains you and you hate marketing and you hate social media, it's okay. Hire somebody who has this genius and gets energized by this stuff and loves it. Hire someone that's already worked in your industry and marketed to your ideal customer. By the way, these people may be already on your team and they're working in a different department and they know your business inside and out. And this type of new role would absolutely excite them. So think about that. If it's something that really drains you and you much rather work on engineering or product or sales, and you really don't want to focus on upper funnel credibility and awareness, hire somebody that geeks out over this stuff, because I'm telling you, it's really going to change your business. And the 8th and final tip, we have to track our progress. I love Atomic Habits. I'm sure a lot of you have read this. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. I oftentimes have people don't have a system. They're not tracking different metrics. They're not setting goals. And it's really difficult to play a game if you don't know what the score is. So when it comes to our marketing, our social media, our newsletter open rate, all those things we really need to track to make sure we know what's working and what's not working, so we can evolve, adjust strategy throughout the month, throughout the year. So we're doing the best thing that resonates with our clientele. Because ultimately you may have a great idea and we may all think that's going to go amazing, but maybe it doesn't land, and maybe your target demo doesn't really like that type of content. So then you can evolve and adjust from there. So there you have it. Those are the 8 ways to 10x your brand. We've talked about the first 4. We just ended with the power of aggregation, focusing on being really, really good at 1 or 2 rather than being really, really average at 7 or 8 platforms. Find your comfort zone and what you're comfortable doing to start, and then ultimately track your progress. So at the end of the day, you know what's working, not working, and you can make sure it's the best possible strategy for your business. So just know I gave you everything I had today on this presentation. and would love to throw back to Doug or any questions you all have for me. I would love to provide much value as possible.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I don't think I've taken that many notes in
Good.
many of the Globinars that we've had. Really fresh approach. Love it. Any questions from anyone? Anita, thank you for. I was actually thinking of you, and I know you're very deeply connected in the entertainment industry. I don't know about sports, but probably sports as well. What question do you have?
No. Okay. David, this was amazing.
All
And
right.
thank you. I love that you mentioned Alex Hormozi because I've watched him on different interviews on
Great.
YouTube and his brain works in a way like you're like, really? But he's got the success to prove it. So yay. Okay, so here's the question. Um, Other than figuring out where your client lives, like I loved your stats on the YouTube versus the Facebook versus Instagram, etc. Shouldn't you already know who your client is before you create your product? Like, why would you be trying to figure that out after the fact?
Absolutely. It's just crazy how I find, different businesses say, yeah, marketing doesn't really work. Like there's no real value that we can bring our consumer. I'm just like, my mind is just blown. I think oftentimes people get hung up on, you're absolutely right. Well, I think when it comes to sales, direct sales, we know exactly who to reach out to. We maybe know the value we bring, but we create content at the top of that funnel to add credibility or awareness. For whatever reason, sometimes like there's a log jam when it comes to that strategy or content mix or ultimately what people will find value for. So um, this stuff definitely is the fundamentals, and some of this stuff is not rocket science, but it's crazy how even working at the Fortune 500 level with entertainment clients, they often don't know like, well, what's our goal here? Are we trying to get subscriptions? Are we trying to get people to follow us? Like, what does ultimately success look like? And oftentimes it's hard for people to answer that. Or different departments have different answers to that question.
Very true. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, doesn't that feedback also drive new offerings, new services, new products by getting that? And ideally, you're brainstorming what that feedback is saying so that you can find some new opportunities.
Yeah, what we often find too, sales and marketing often don't have a symbiotic relationship. And
Yeah.
so much of your FAQs and value come from your sales calls because you start to hear the same themes, the same bottlenecks. Then you can kind of pull on those emotional heartstrings as you're hearing some of that pushback or as you're hearing some of those issues. And then be able to, like you said, either create products, but also on a marketing standpoint, you want your consumer to be like, God, you get me. You just get it. And I think when your content speaks to some of those emotions, it really makes it a lot easier to get the sale because you're like, these guys and gals get it. They know my industry, they know my pain points, they know my bottlenecks, and I want to move forward because you're talking my love language here. That's ultimately what it is, right?
That 97% of people are not ready to buy is really hit me. And it kind of, from the standpoint of there, you see so many people just pitching stuff, and yet you must have learned that that 97% or a very high percentage is just absorbing and beginning that the trust process. When do you shift, or do you ever shift into sales mode, or how does that work for you? Do you consciously say, well, wait a minute, I just heard something that means this could be a sales opportunity, and then you shift? How does that happen for you?
Yeah, I look at a few different buckets. So it's like if this is just value for our community and awareness, that's one thing. We're not really asking for anything, but maybe the next bucket is you're putting a guarded piece of content out there where it's like, give me your email and I'll send you this deck I just went through today, or I'll send you a free download to this webinar I just did. That's a little bit more intent because people are saying, not only does this apply to me, I'm willing to give you my information to get even more knowledge on this particular subject. And those marketing qualified leads are much warmer than maybe someone that just likes the post on Instagram or somebody that follows you on LinkedIn. So what we find is if they're making these intents and they're willing to give up some of their information, then they're not going to be blindsided by, hey, I'm so glad that you downloaded this information. Would you love to hop on a call and maybe dive deeper? Or is there any other context I can help provide? And then it's a much more, in my opinion, casual like intro rather than a cold hard sale.
Got it. What would your mindset be if you were in front of Mark Cuban?
Um, my mindset would be to really extract as much knowledge as I can out of him and just understand like how he works and how he manages all of his companies. And I think for me, it's just like an entrepreneur and owner. I'm just curious on how he keeps his thumb on the pulse of all the different initiatives that he oversees and ensures they all have quality. So that made me more of a personal rather than like a business opportunity. But you guys know this too, when you take out a prospect to lunch or very casual meet and greet, if you don't discuss business at all, and then usually the last like 2 minutes, they almost feel obligated to say, by the way, like we should work together. You should put together a capabilities presentation. Like they're kind of feeling you out, but the psychology behind this person took me out to lunch. This person gave me so much value. Again, Alex Ramosi, Anita, he's given me so much free value. I almost feel I need to buy this dude's book. Even if I don't read it, I feel like I owe him something because this relationship is not mutual. And he's given everything to me, but I've given nothing to him yet. So it's interesting, I think, how the human brain even goes there without even knowing that it's going there.
We're kind of wired for reciprocity. And he says that his goal is to be the best giver of free stuff out there. Best value, like that is his goal. So when you feel that way, I'm sure it's a validation of him hitting his goals.
Yeah, and also too, like my employees historically and a lot of my entrepreneur friends, I think the majority of people are very scared to give away their IP. They think their competitors are gonna steal their, their white paper and then immediately sell it to their. And again, I just think it's a fear that is overblown because again, you can give away how many books have been written to teach you exactly how to scale a business or exactly how to be the best leader possible, but the people that actually implement it, anybody can have the idea, anybody can download the blueprint, but the execution is where really people fail. So I think it's important just to know that like people aren't going to steal all your IP and start your same company and take over your company, but that fear is there. So
Brilliant. I've heard that before, but it hasn't resonated as strongly as when you say it. So thank you very much. To respect your time and everyone else, what closing comments do you have? What should we take away from this? There were those 8 points. I took a picture of it. I'm going to absorb it over the next couple days. I made a bunch of notes. Well, what should we take away as marketers, and what should we take away in terms of someone who wants to help you?
Yeah, like I really like to look at it working on a macro standpoint, and then you can start drilling down. I think oftentimes people ask me, should we be on TikTok? I'm like, have you even done your ideal customer profile? Have you done your personas? Do you know where they live? Do you even have the top 10 pieces of content you think they would resonate most with? A lot of times people go to like the end of the, it's like, I don't know, what couch should we buy for a living room? Like, first of all, why don't we figure out what city would you like to live in? How many bedrooms do you need, right? Like, and I think oftentimes they want to fast forward right to how many times should I be posting on Instagram? Like, I got so many questions for you before we can even talk about how many times you should be posting. So it takes some work, but like bringing your team into a session and just like, let's just talk about our customer. What are the common themes we hear? Let's look at all of our service lines. Where are we making the most profit? We love this client. If we can get 10 clients exactly that look like this favorite client we have, wouldn't that be awesome? How can we do that with our content mix, with our FAQs, et cetera? So, the biggest takeaway here is not just creating value, but understanding who you're creating value for first and foremost. And then you can bolt on all the different newsletters and let's launch a TikTok and let's do all these things. But first and foremost, everybody, you might know it as a CEO, but does everybody in your company know exactly who your ideal customer profile is? I would venture to say probably not.
Beautiful. Thank you, David, for sharing today. Anything else we should know about STN?
Yeah, like I said, if anybody gets value out of this or watches this, video on demand, I'm David at stn.digital. So if you want to email me, talk more about this stuff, I geek out over it every single day. So happy to chat or meet any of you. And then, yeah, like we're across LinkedIn, stndigital.com if you want to check out the website. And then my personal profile as well, David J. Brickley is the handles across all the fun social media profiles.
What's your LinkedIn again?
My personal LinkedIn is David Brickley. So you can, I think it's David Brickley. So, but it should pop up. Search me.
It should pop up. I had lunch with a new member yesterday, and they deeply connected in sports, not just in Southern California, but across the U.S. So as they're coming on, I'm going to get you connected to them.
Right.
So
yeah, and I can also I think, Doug, we already had this plan, but I can send over a link to that full deck. So just if people want to look at certain slides or remind themselves, happy to do that.
Perfect. Thank
Cool.
you for your time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, team.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, Anita.
You're welcome.